Hello and welcome to Joburg today. My name is Dumi Nhlapo, bringing you the best of what's going down in and around Johannesburg. Herman Mashaba is the DA mayoral candidate for the upcoming elections, an astute businessman with a passion for politics. He shared with us his vision for the city and amazing insights of his life and his personal journey for freedom. Check this out.
Herman Mashaba is a 56-year-old resident of Johannesburg, living here in Johannesburg for just under 20 years, but born and brought up in a small village called Garamotse in Mayoral. Brought up by domestic worker mother, mainly away from home when I was in my formative years, and really living with my sisters.
What was your vision back then? Well,
the thing is, I grew up as a child under apartheid. As you're aware, HFR Root took over power in this country in 1958, and I was born in 1959. So I was born right in the middle of this architect of apartheid. So life in our village, in our community was really rough. In the mid-60s, the political leadership in this country arrested. A lot of our people started leaving the country to go into exile. So, for me, that's, as I was growing up in my formative years, those are the type of stories one began to hear.
Sure, and how did that impact on your childhood?
Well, quite difficult in the sense that I also at the same time, I lost my father when I was 2 years old. So you can imagine you grew up in an environment where there's no mother, there's no father, because my mother was a domestic worker here in Johannesburg, looking after white children and cleaning white homes. In the meantime, I had no one to really look after. Obviously, my sisters were there and really looked after by the community generally. And you grew up actually being angry and with some kind of confusion as to where you'd one day attain your own personal freedom.
And why are you being rejected?
Yeah, in fact, what happened is grew up actually as a youth thinking that one day I will use education as a vehicle to attain my complete freedom. And yes, I was lucky enough that in 1978 passed my matric and went to University of the North in Sovenga, Petersburg. Then you can imagine a university 300 kilometers away, whereas University of Pretoria only 45 minutes away from my village. But unfortunately, as a black South African, you're not allowed to really go to the so-called white university. So I had to go all the way to University of the North. And yes, unfortunately, my academic dream was shattered second year of my studies, because I thought when I was studying that I was one day going to become a political scientist, because I had registered for a B.Admin majoring in political science and public administration.
Mm-hmm. Who would you say were your early childhood mentors, people that you looked up to, that inspired you?
Unfortunately, in our community, really role models were really very scarce. You really grew up, I look at my life generally, I feel I was actually brought up by nature. Mm-hmm. Yes, I had great people around me, but generally people were defeated by the apartheid system because it was a very vicious, evil system that took away the dignity of our people. And that's something I grew up fighting, to really make sure that no one should interfere with my own dignity, because that's the only asset that my grandfather used to really tell me when I was growing up, that I must do everything possible to protect it.
Very powerful, very inspiring words, Herman. I suppose the perfect catalyst for personal development and growth are challenges, because that's when you can emerge as a leader. Tell us about your new journey as the DA mayoral candidate.
Well,
what made you go into politics, Herman?
Well, interesting, something that I never thought I would do. I've been a businessman for over 30 years, and a successful one for that matter, fortunately. This country has been really great to me. Coming from my background, being punished at school because my mother could not afford 25 cents school fees, and really become a successful businessman in this country. I really feel blessed. So this country has been good to me. When I started seeing developments crumbling in this country, ever since Jacob Zuma took over the ANC, I felt at the time that I must be an active member of society. I started engagements through just debates and discourse in political circles. As a successful businessman, I've been known over the last few years in this country and respected as a businessman, as an entrepreneur. And I felt I had a duty to really voice my concern with some of the political direction, particularly on the economic front, things that I was not happy with. And that really then creates a spotlight on you. And resulting in after the 2014 general elections, I took membership of the Democratic Alliance because I voted for the ANC twice in my life, in 1994 and 1999. And since then, I've really been a DA voter. And the reason why I've always deserted ANC, because I realized that this is not an ANC of Mandela any longer. It's an ANC captured by people with self-interest, people with their own personal agendas. And also at the same time for me of grave concern was their focus on big government, on government really being the driver of everything in our country. And it's been proven internationally. Where you have big governments, governments thinking that they are ones to run the economy, run the lives of people, such governments always fail. They've been failing for the last 2,000 years. And there was just no way that I would really sit back and watch this country being destroyed, being destroyed by people with personal agendas.
What does personal integrity mean to Herman Mashaba?
More than important. I think for me, honesty, integrity, without it, you're dead as a person. I look at my success in business over the last 30 years. To a large extent, people I've done business with, they've done business with me, and they keep doing business with me because they trust me. Because what you see is what you get. I pray every day of my life, and I work hard towards it to ensure that I don't go around misleading people. I'd rather take hard decisions up front, but there's just no way that anyone can one day hold me for misleading them. And I've done this over 30 years in the business world, which is a great, big ingredient for success. But I think we need to really bring that culture of integrity in the political environment. But at the end of the day, the voters out there should be the ones driving this process. What you do, every 5 years, our constitutional framework is such that every 5 years you vote politicians out. So what you do as society, as the voters, when people don't deliver, when people lie to you, please vote them out the next time around.
It was a big pleasure talking to you. Thank you for sharing your vision with us and for going into such detail. And we wish you all the best with the upcoming local elections, Herman. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
With less than a month to go before local elections in South Africa, campaign trails of local government candidates are hotting up. In Johannesburg, the DA's mayoral candidate is Herman Mashaba, a new face in politics, but a visionary businessman who is no stranger to Joburg residents. Here he is, out on a mission to win the hearts and minds of voters, justifying why he is the best man for the job. I caught up with his campaign manager to find out more about their strategy. Tell us about the strategy that's driving this campaign on the ground in terms of movement, in terms of events coverage, and of course, importantly, the social issues that the DA is focusing on addressing during this campaign.
Okay. For us, it's very important to be as visible as possible in as many areas of Joburg as possible. So we work very closely with the constituency heads on the ground and the activists to pick up what issues are affecting specific communities. It's very important in our messaging that we don't go into a suburban area or Randburg and talk about housing delivery or RDP houses. We need to be very specific on our messaging to what affects that specific community. We try and go to as many areas as possible, which is so important because you can't have Herman being seen as a mayor who is only interested in the west of Johannesburg or the east of Johannesburg, the north or the south. So we try and diversify that as much as possible. So important in the strategy is having the media event. There'll be a media event where we attract the media to. And that could either be us exposing something or showing what Herman's vision is, getting people informed about Herman's vision. And thereafter, it's literally focused on visibility, whether it's blitzes, whether it's mini marches in communities, whether it's Herman doing door-to-doors to really get people knowing about Herman, knowing about the DA, knowing about the promises we are making for change. With regards to actual strategy, our campaign's very focused around bringing change. That's the main word, change. And it covers 3 areas: corruption, and I think that's something the DA has been able to really own is that we fight corruption. We don't want any, we've got zero tolerance for corruption. That's very important. So it's showing that we would open the tender system, we would open the housing list needs to be open. EPWP jobs, that needs to be an open database. We need to try and root out all those kind of problems. Within the JMPD as well, we need to get the people of Joburg believing that these people, that the police service, the Metro Police will look after them. With regards to service delivery, this is a major issue, and we're very aware that yes, there are 10,000 more people coming into Joburg every month. That's a serious concern, but we also believe strongly that the town administration is not doing enough to uplift, and especially the poorest communities. Herman Mashaba himself has now laid 7 complaints with the Human Rights Commission about blatant violations. It's important for the people to know what's really going on, because we see Tao sitting in his lofty office talking about this new economic democracy or this world-class African city. But for a lot of people on the ground in Johannesburg, that is just not a reality.
What would you say has been the milestones of this campaign thus far?
The milestones of the campaign thus far. Well, I think firstly, the announcement of Herman Mashaba was really exciting. I think that was a game changer in Johannesburg for politics. And on my experience in this campaign, I can tell you I've never seen a harder working individual. This is a man who's really in it to bring about change. Other milestones I would say would be certain visions not visions, but things that he will enact if he becomes mayor. Key ones is the breakup of Pick It Up. We know that Pick It Up, the city was plagued by months of strikes earlier this year. The city was absolutely filthy. And it seems like the ANC administration here is completely unable to do anything about it.
As a campaign manager of this team, how do you measure yourself up in terms of progress being made in this campaign itself to actually put the DA on the map of Johannesburg?
Definitely. I think vital to that is ensuring, firstly as a campaign manager, is that the people behind me are working they're working at their best, and also having an exciting and fun environment. We want our team to wake up in the morning and be excited to come to work, excited to come and work on this campaign to go towards winning the city. That's key to ensuring that we produce the best work as possible, and I'd say that's probably the first important task of mine. Second, it's ensuring that our messaging is correct. It's ensuring that we on-message in volume over time. We need to ensure that what the DA's vision for the city is being heard by the people of Johannesburg. We need to inspire them with that. And other than that is the visibility on the ground. The people of Joburg need to know that the DA is serious about this. They need to know that there's a serious chance of the DA winning. People are often very apathetic when it comes to elections, or they think, oh, what's my vote going to do? And if you add up all the people that say that it would make a huge difference, that's 30-40% of the electorate.
How receptive has the citizens of Johannesburg been towards your campaign so far? Are they asking a lot of questions about what the DA is bringing to the table when you're out on campaigns, when you're out on the ground? Give us some feedback around that.
It has actually been absolutely incredible, Nashina, to actually see the reaction to the DA on the ground. You can see people talking about change, people coming up to him and random people and saying, we will support you. Just yesterday we were doing oversight at health clinics, and a whole lot of people came up to the bus. They were getting pamphlets, they were talking to Herman, and Herman's so receptive to people, which is so incredible. He shows that this is a man that wants people to come to him. He's not surrounded by bodyguards.
Do they express concerns to him while he's out?
They do express concerns with the current administration. I haven't picked up too much about concerns about about mistrust in the DA. I think the one amazing thing about Herman as well, this isn't a seasoned politician. This is a new man coming in that wants to bring change to the city, but believing in the vision of the DA as the body that can do that, as a political organization that can do that.
As a young South African, I've pretty much been in limbo as to who do I align myself to, and he has really given me an option that I can seriously consider, because everything else that's out there is all talk and not action. And what really resonated for me with what he spoke about is that God was firstly central, and that the best decision that he ever made was getting married. So for me, that was incredible.
I enjoyed the speech. It was very informative. Him basically telling us where he came from and where he is now and how he made it. And the fact that he's not in this because he wants the money. He's got the money, and it's not about that. It's not about getting the bigger companies bigger, it's about the small ones. And that's where I think he kind of connected with me, because for me, getting a bigger company bigger isn't going to help the smaller person.
Coming from where he came from in the late 1950s, being born to where he is now, from a business entrepreneur, from a political leader, from a refreshing point of view, from the apartheid regime to where he is now, it's a really, really, truly inspiring story, where I think what his ideas and where he wants to take the city of Joburg, specifically concentrating on the poor economic state of the people, is where we actually need to be.
Personal careers.
Hi, I'm Danny Glover, and you're watching Joburg Today.
Like us on Facebook, joburgtoday.tv, and follow us on Twitter at Joburg Today. That's all for today. For more, do check out our playlist. From myself, Tumi Nhlapo, and the Joburg Today crew, it's goodbye.